The melodious sound of classical music echoes through the grand concert hall. Audience members in luxurious evening gowns and suits chatter cheerfully, holding glasses of wine. In a secluded corner, Sarah, a simple woman in a worn-out dress, stands alone, clutching her old violin case. A group of young musicians passes by, eyeing her from head to toe with sneers. Does she really think she can impress anyone with that shabby violin? Ridiculous. Sarah closes her eyes, taking a deep breath. Determination flickers in her eyes. Sarah sits alone in the corner of the dressing room. The room is filled with vibrant conversations as other musicians boast about their awards and prestigious performances. A female violinist glances at Sarah, her eyes fixed on the worn-out violin case in Sarah's hands. She smirks. With a piece of junk like that, how do you expect to play anything remotely decent? Laughter ripples through the room. Sarah lowers her gaze, her fingers nervously tracing the outline of the old violin case. Inside, her heart aches. Memories of her father teaching her to play on that very instrument flood her mind. But instead of responding, she takes a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. Her eyes glisten with unshed tears, yet beneath that sadness, a flicker of determination begins to grow. Sarah steps outside to catch her breath. The cool evening air brushes against her skin as she leans against the wall, eyes closed. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out, "Sarah!" Emily, her childhood friend and the only person who truly believes in her, walks over with a warm smile. "You okay?" Emily asks, concern evident in her eyes. Sarah forces a small smile, but it doesn't reach her eyes. "I'm fine. Just a little nervous," she murmurs, her fingers nervously tapping against the violin case. Emily steps closer, placing a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Listen, you've practiced day and night for this performance. You've poured your heart and soul into it. Don't let their words get to you," Emily says gently. Sarah bites her lip, glancing back at the auditorium where the laughter still echoes. "But what if they're right? What if I'm not good enough?" she whispers, her voice trembling. Emily shakes her head firmly. "You're more than good enough. You're amazing. You just need to believe in yourself." Sarah nods, her eyes glistening. For a brief moment, the weight on her shoulders feels a little lighter. But deep down, the doubt still lingers. Flashback, a dimly lit room. Sarah sits beside her mother's bed, gently holding her frail hand. The soft hum of the ventilator is the only sound filling the silence. Her mother, pale and weak, looks at Sarah with loving but tired eyes. "Sarah," her mother whispers, her voice barely audible. "Yes, Mom?" Sarah leans closer, her eyes glistening. Her mother struggles to lift her hand, placing it over Sarah's. "Don't give up on your dreams. You have a gift. You have to let the world hear it," she says, a weak but determined smile forming on her lips. Tears well up in Sarah's eyes, but she nods firmly. "I will, Mom. I promise." Back to the present. Sarah stands backstage, clutching her violin case tightly. Her heart pounds against her chest. The echoes of her mother's words play in her mind like a haunting melody. She takes a deep breath, eyes focused straight ahead. "You can do this," she whispers to herself, tightening her grip on the violin case. As she steps forward, the curtain slightly parts, revealing the grand hall filled with elegantly dressed guests. Some are chatting, some are laughing, and others are eyeing Sarah with skepticism. But in that moment, all Sarah can hear is her mother's voice, urging her forward. In the lavishly decorated waiting hall, guests chatter excitedly as the MC steps up to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to our performers tonight," the MC announces with a bright smile. Names of well-known artists echo through the speakers. Each name receives a thunderous applause. Then, the MC's tone softens. "And next we have Sarah Thompson." A brief, awkward silence. A few scattered claps echo across the room. Sarah stands up, her hands trembling slightly. She takes a deep breath, forcing herself to remain calm. Nearby, a young, well-dressed violinist with perfectly styled hair snickers and nudges his friend. "Sarah who?" he sneers. "Is she the janitor or something?" His friend chuckles, glancing at Sarah's simple dress and worn-out violin case. Sarah pretends not to hear, her eyes fixed on the stage. "I heard she's a nobody," the violinist continues, raising his voice just enough for Sarah to hear. "This is a stage for real musicians, not some amateur with a hand-me-down violin." Sarah swallows hard, her jaw clenched. The laughter echoes in her ears, but she doesn't look back. Emily, standing nearby, watches with a worried expression. She walks over and squeezes Sarah's hand. "Ignore them. They don't know what you're capable of," Emily whispers. Sarah nods, but her gaze is firm. Her mother's words echo in her mind. "You have to let the world hear it." Sarah steps onto the stage. The spotlight casts a harsh, blinding glow on her. The entire hall falls silent. All eyes fix on her plain dress and the worn-out violin she clutches tightly. Murmurs ripple through the audience. "She really thinks she can perform with that old thing?" someone whispers. "What a joke," another snorts. Sarah feels the weight of 1,000 eyes bearing down on her. Her palms sweat and her heart races. She closes her eyes, taking a deep breath, trying to shut out the whispers, the doubts, the condescending stares. Memories flash through her mind, her mother's frail hands clasping hers, the gentle yet firm voice saying, "Don't let them silence your music." Sarah opens her eyes. The room blurs slightly, but she forces herself to focus. She raises the violin to her shoulder. Her hands tremble as she positions the bow. In the front row, the young violinist from earlier crosses his arms, a smirk plastered on his face. "Let's see her embarrass herself," he mutters to his friend. Emily watches from the side, her hands clasped together in a silent prayer. Sarah takes one last deep breath. The hall is so silent that she can hear her own heartbeat. Then, she closes her eyes again and draws the bow across the strings. Sarah draws the bow across the strings, and the first note echoes throughout the hall. The sound is pure, rich, and filled with a depth of emotion that instantly captures everyone's attention. Conversations cease mid-sentence. The whispers fade into silence. The smirks and condescending glances disappear, replaced by widened eyes and dropped jaws. The young violinist from earlier, the one who mocked her, sits frozen, his smug expression slowly dissolving. Sarah's fingers move gracefully over the strings, pouring her heart and soul into each note. It's as if every stroke of the bow carries a piece of her journey. The sleepless nights practicing, the stifled tears, her mother's dying words. A woman in the audience blinks away tears, her hand clutching her chest. "I've never heard anything like this," she whispers to the person next to her. On the stage, Sarah keeps her eyes closed. She is no longer aware of the crowd or the grandeur of the hall. She is playing for herself, for her mother, for every dream she almost gave up. The melody rises, filling every corner of the room with haunting, aching beauty. Each note lingers in the air, like a silent scream finally being set free. In the wings, Emily watches with tears welling up in her eyes. "I knew you could do it, Sarah," she whispers, her voice trembling. The final note rings out, hanging in the air for a moment before dissolving into complete, awestruck silence. Sarah takes a deep breath, then begins to play a melody she composed herself, the song she once played for her mother. The notes flow effortlessly, each one drenched in raw emotion. The melody is haunting, delicate, yet powerful, like a lullaby wrapped in sorrow. Flashback. Sarah sits beside her mother's hospital bed. Her mother's eyes are closed, her breathing shallow. Sarah holds the violin close, her hands trembling as she plays the same song. Despite the pain, a faint smile appears on her mother's lips. "It's beautiful, Sarah," her mother whispers, her voice weak but filled with love. "Play it for them one day. Show them who you really are." Back to the present. The audience is captivated. The haunting melody seems to resonate with the very walls of the hall, carrying Sarah's heartache and longing. A middle-aged man in the audience wipes away a tear, his jaw clenched. "I feel like she's pouring her soul into every note," he whispers to the woman beside him. On stage, Sarah continues to play, her eyes closed, as if reliving every moment with her mother. The melody rises to a crescendo, a surge of raw emotion that fills the entire hall. Every note trembles in the air like a lingering goodbye. In the wings, Emily covers her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Sarah, she's really playing for her mother," Emily whispers, her heart aching. As the last note fades, the entire hall is enveloped in silence, a silence thick with emotion and unspoken words. As the final note lingers in the air, Sarah slowly lowers her violin and bows her head. For a brief moment, the hall is enveloped in complete silence, as if everyone is still caught in the echo of her haunting melody. Then, a single clap breaks the silence, followed by another. and another. In seconds, the entire hall erupts into thunderous applause. The sound is deafening, overwhelming, a powerful wave of acknowledgement and respect. People who once sneered at Sarah are now on their feet, clapping with fervor. The middle-aged man who had wiped away a tear earlier now stands with his hands clapping above his head, his expression full of admiration. "Unbelievable," he murmurs. "How could we have been so wrong about her?" A woman in an elegant gown leans toward her friend, her eyes still glistening. "That was breathtaking. She played with her soul." Backstage, Emily clenches her fists, trying to contain her joy. Tears stream down her face, but they are tears of pride and relief. "You did it, Sarah," she whispers, her heart pounding. "You really did it." On stage, Sarah remains bowing, eyes closed, letting the applause wash over her like a warm embrace. For the first time, she feels seen. Truly seen. As the crowd begins to disperse, the female artist who had earlier mocked Sarah approaches her hesitantly. Her face is flushed, her eyes downcast. "Sarah," she stammers, fingers nervously twirling a strand of hair. I owe you an apology. I was wrong about you. You were incredible." Sarah turns to her, eyes gentle but firm. There is no trace of bitterness or resentment, just calm understanding. "Thank you," Sarah says, her voice soft but steady. "But sometimes it takes more than words to truly understand someone." The artist nods, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I judged you based on your appearance. I thought you didn't belong here." Sarah smiles, a warm, forgiving smile. "It's okay. Sometimes music speaks louder than words. And tonight it did." The artist takes a deep breath, her shoulders relaxing as if a weight has been lifted. "I hope we can start over?" Sarah extends her hand. "Of course." They shake hands, and the artist walks away, glancing back at Sarah with a look of newfound respect and admiration. Backstage, Emily watches the exchange, her heart swelling with pride. "You really are something, Sarah," Emily whispers to herself. "You really are." As Sarah gathers her belongings backstage, she feels a mix of relief and disbelief. The applause still echoes faintly in her mind. Suddenly, a man in a well-tailored suit approaches her. His presence commands attention. It's Leonard Blake, a renowned music producer known for discovering hidden talents. "Excuse me," he says, extending a hand. "You're Sarah, right?" Sarah hesitantly nods, her heart pounding. "Yes, that's me." Leonard's eyes are intense but kind. "That piece you just played, did you compose it yourself?" Sarah swallows, her throat suddenly dry. "Yes, it's something I wrote for my mother." Leonard smiles, his expression impressed. "It was extraordinary. Raw, powerful, and deeply moving. I haven't heard something that genuine in a long time." Sarah's eyes widen, her pulse quickening. "Really?" Leonard steps closer, his voice serious. "Listen, I want to work with you. There's so much potential in your music. Let's record that piece, and maybe even more. What do you say?" Sarah's jaw drops. For a moment, she is speechless. This has been my dream forever. I don't know what to say." Leonard chuckles softly. "Say yes." Sarah takes a deep breath, her eyes shimmering with tears of joy. "Yes. Absolutely yes." Emily rushes over, having overheard the conversation. "Sarah, did that just really happen?" Sarah nods, her face beaming with excitement and disbelief. "It's happening, Emily. It's really happening." Sarah steps inside her small, modest apartment, closing the door behind her. The room is dimly lit, and the air feels heavy with memories. She places her violin case on the table and sits down. Before her is a framed photograph of her mother, smiling gently. Sarah traces her fingers along the edges of the frame, eyes glistening. She whispers softly, almost as if speaking to the photograph. "Mom, what should I do? This is the opportunity I've been waiting for, but can I really do it?" The room remains silent. The only sound is the gentle ticking of the old clock. Sarah closes her eyes, leaning back against the chair. Memories flood her mind, late-night practices, her mother's soothing voice encouraging her, the moments when she almost gave up but didn't. Taking a deep breath, she reaches for her violin. She lifts it to her shoulder and closes her eyes. Slowly, she begins to play. The melody that fills the room is not the powerful, intense piece she performed earlier. It's a soft, haunting lullaby, the very song her mother used to sing to her when she was a child. The music flows like a gentle breeze, carrying with it all the love, pain, and longing Sarah feels. As the final note fades away, a tear rolls down her cheek. Sarah opens her eyes, gazing at her mother's photograph. "I will do it, Mom. Not just for me, but for you." Her expression hardens with newfound resolve. Sarah stands up, wipes her tears, and picks up the phone. It's time to call Leonard and give him her answer. Sarah holds the phone in her trembling hand, staring at Leonard's contact number. Her heart races as she takes a deep breath. Finally, she presses the call button. The dial tone echoes in the silence of her apartment. Leonard picks up. His voice is calm yet curious. "Sarah, have you made your decision?" Sarah swallows, her grip tightening around the phone. She closes her eyes, and the image of her mother's smiling face flashes through her mind. "Yes," she says firmly. "I'm ready to do it." Leonard's voice brightens. "That's fantastic. We'll start recording in 2 weeks. Be prepared, Sarah. This could be the start of something big." After hanging up, Sarah stands motionless for a moment. The weight of her decision sinks in. She's taken the leap. Now there's no turning back. Determined, she heads to her small practice room. It's cluttered with old music sheets, a worn-out chair, and her precious violin resting on the table. She sits down, closes her eyes, and begins to play the same lullaby that once comforted her and her mother. This time, each note carries a blend of hope, fear, and an unyielding resolve. The melody fills the room, weaving through the air like a gentle caress. Sarah plays until her fingers ache, sweat beads on her forehead, but her eyes remain sharp and focused. 2 weeks, she whispers to herself. "I'll be ready." Sarah steps into the recording studio, clutching her old, worn violin close to her chest. The room is spacious, filled with soundproof panels and expensive equipment that seem almost intimidating. Leonard stands behind the glass, adjusting his headphones, his eyes fixed on Sarah. A few other producers sit nearby, their faces expressionless, waiting to hear what she's got. Sarah takes a deep breath, closing her eyes for a brief moment. She can feel her mother's presence, the memory of her soft lullaby echoing in her mind. With renewed determination, she positions the violin under her chin. The bow touches the strings, and the first note resonates throughout the room, a note so pure, so hauntingly beautiful that Leonard raises his eyebrows. The producers exchange glances, clearly caught off guard. Sarah continues to play, each note a story of pain, loss, and unwavering hope. The melody swells, painting images of a little girl playing the violin beside her mother's bed, of long nights practicing alone, and of a heart that refuses to give up. Leonard leans forward, eyes closed, fully immersed in the music. When the final note fades into silence, Sarah lowers the violin, her chest rising and falling heavily. A single tear escapes, trailing down her cheek. Leonard pulls off his headphones and rises to his feet, clapping his hands slowly. The other producers join in, their applause echoing through the room. Leonard steps into the recording booth, his eyes glistening. "Sarah, you did it. That was breathtaking." Sarah manages a shaky smile, her heart still pounding, the weight of her dream finally becoming a reality. Sarah stands backstage, dressed in a stunning yet simple gown, her hair elegantly pinned up. The concert hall is filled to capacity, every seat taken by eager audience members. The lights dim, and the announcer's voice echoes through the speakers. "And now please welcome the brilliant violinist, Sarah Evans." The crowd erupts in applause as Sarah steps onto the stage, her violin gleaming under the spotlight. Her heart pounds, but it's no longer from fear. It's the thrill of finally being where she belongs. As she moves to the center of the stage, she takes a deep breath, glancing around the vast hall. The same space that once held sneering faces and mocking whispers now greets her with admiration and respect. Sarah raises her violin, her eyes meeting Leonard's, who is seated in the front row with a proud smile. Among the crowd, she spots Emily, her best friend, who waves enthusiastically, and the producer who gave her a chance, nodding in approval. The conductor signals for the orchestra to begin. The first notes fill the room, and Sarah closes her eyes, letting the music take over. Her fingers dance across the strings, and every note she plays seems to carry the weight of her journey, the struggles, the losses, and the unwavering determination. The melody is haunting, delicate, and powerful all at once. When the piece ends, the hall is engulfed in silence for a moment. Then, as if on cue, the audience rises to their feet, clapping and cheering. Tears well up in Sarah's eyes as she bows deeply, her chest heaving with a mix of relief and joy. She is no longer the simple woman they once ignored. She is now a celebrated artist, a woman whose music speaks for her soul. The concert hall gradually empties as people leave, still buzzing about Sarah's mesmerizing performance. Backstage, Sarah sits alone, her hands still trembling from the intensity of the recital. Suddenly, the door opens and Emily rushes in, her eyes sparkling with tears. Without a word, she runs to Sarah and embraces her tightly. Emily's voice quivers. "You did it, Sarah. You really did it." Sarah pulls back slightly, her own eyes wet. "I couldn't have done it without you, Em. You were always there, even when no one else believed in me." Emily laughs through her tears. "Well, they believe now. Did you see the way they all stood up and clapped for you? You were incredible." Sarah looks down at her violin, the same old instrument that carried her through every hardship. "I played it for Mom," she whispers, her voice cracking. "Every note was for her." Emily nods, wiping away a tear. She was watching Sarah. "I know she was. And she's so proud of you." They sit together in silence, holding hands, soaking in the moment. For a brief, precious moment, the world feels perfectly still. Sarah sits by the window, the room bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. She holds her old violin close to her chest, fingers gently tracing its worn-out strings. Her eyes gaze into the distance, reflecting both the bittersweet memories of her mother and the incredible journey she has just completed. It's not appearances or status that define your worth. It's your passion and unwavering determination that create the most beautiful melody in life. If this story touched your heart, hit the subscribe button for more inspiring tales that will move your soul.